AITA for refusing to fire my new administrative assistant because my wife feels insecure? Around 2 months ago, I, 52M, finally bit the bullet and spent some of my lab budget to bring on board an administrative assistant. It's been wonderful. As I got older, I received more administrative responsibilities. And I never realized how much of my day was spent scheduling, answering emails, and coordinating events. My new hire has done a fantastic job getting those tasks off my plate. She is a 22-year-old recent college graduate, which I am only mentioning because it becomes relevant. About 2 weeks ago, we had a bi-monthly lab lunch. We took a picture, captioned it, "Welcoming our new administrative staff member to the team," quote, and posted it to our lab Instagram. Apparently, this led to all my wife's friends, including my SIL, seeing the picture. They proceeded to give my wife unsolicited advice about how this was a sign I'm considering cheating on her, which I have never done and will never do. They argued that she should ask me to fire my new hire to test my integrity. I refused because that's fucking ridiculous and likely illegal. Now, my wife's friends are convinced I'm some predatory scumbag. And my wife is angry that I, quote, don't respect her enough to stop people from thinking I'm throwing her away. This might be where I'm an asshole. I responded that I think the real problem is that she's friends with a bunch of crazy divorcees. Which I initially regretted saying because my SIL's marriage had fallen apart last year. However, as my sympathy has waned, I'm starting to double down on as an accurate characterization of those morons. I'm making this post because I think this whole situation is absolutely absurd. And, for the first time in our marriage, I can't see how her side is reasonable in any way. I literally get to spend more time with my wife, now that I don't spend an hour answering emails before bed every night. I don't see how this is a me problem or even an us problem at this point. I don't think I have done anything even slightly inappropriate. And this is entirely her problem. Maybe I'm completely off base. But I need a third-part perspective. NTA. Firing a woman to appease your wife's insecurity would require a serious lack of integrity. They really want to make another living human being beginning her career unemployed and during a pandemic, to put this black mark on her resume at the beginning of building her career and reputation. To label her a sexual predator. Your wife, SIL, and her friends lack integrity, humanity, and empathy. They all, including your wife, have an extremely low opinion of you to think the mere presence of this woman will result in the two of you having sex. Your wife needs her own therapy and you both need couples therapy. She needs to stop listening to these people whispering these unfounded accusations in her ear. NTA. Don't respect her enough to stop people from thinking I'm throwing her away. She doesn't respect you enough to stop people from thinking you're throwing her away. I say NTA, and I also say that you need to have a serious sit down with your wife and see what is really going on. I would ask her to explain herself some more on why she thinks what she is thinking. What about your situation with your wife has changed since you hired the new assistant? Question here. Did you mention the new hire to your wife? Do you tell her anything about work? Everything about work? If you so, did you leave this particular piece out? I am just trying to figure out what reasons she would have against you here. I can only really see this being a problem if you have something in your last, which you say you don't, or if you omitted this new hire information from your usual telling of work. I am surprised that your wife is suspecting you of cheating when you didn't increase You actually decreased your hours working to give more time to your wife at home. Something deeper is bothering her, or maybe the pandemic is getting to her and she's feeling trapped and insecure. Is she a full-time housewife? Maybe she needs a little TLC from to reinforce the vows you two made to one another. I highly recommend you do not attack her friends or family in any argument unless it concerns those friends or family directly. Bringing them in only increases collateral damage and takes away from the focus of the conflict with you and your wife. Good luck to you. NTA, if you are in the US, firing a secretary based on her looks is going to get you sued. It's called sexual discrimination. Tell your wife that you refuse to base your hiring decisions on her insecurities. If she doesn't trust you, then your relationship is already on the rocks. Especially since you are already spending more time with your wife since hiring this person. NTA. Your wife and her friends don't get to make you fire someone who did absolutely nothing. Your wife's friends shouldn't be telling you to fire her. You should be telling your wife to fire her friends. NTA. But I think you should consider having an honest discussion with your wife about your marriage. She's clearly struggling with something, and this is how it's coming out. Albeit at the encouragement of her weird friends. I don't think you've done anything wrong, and your wife is definitely in the wrong. But you should try to find out what's going on. NTA. You can't fire someone and potentially fuck up their career because your wife is insecure and jealous. Maybe it's not illegal where you are, but it should be. It is incredibly offensive to your employee that because your wife thinks you might have an affair she loses her job, and a horrible insult to her professionalism. I presume you hired the best person for the job. But even if you didn't, that's a problem for the company you work for and is still nothing to do with your wife. NTA. And get some couples therapy. Knowing why she feels that you may be cheating would really benefit you. She could be thinking, he hired a pretty young lady. Does that mean I'm not pretty enough for him now? Firing the new assistant cause your wife is insecure can also look bad on you. Whether someone cries discrimination or the fact it's just rude to fire someone who isn't actually causing a problem in the workplace. NTA. Maybe ask your wife how she would have felt about losing her job at 22 because the person who hired her had a significant other with overstepping friends. But don't do it in an adversarial way. And make it real. Sweets. Remember when you got that job at XYZ Co? What if the person who hired you suddenly fired you for nothing you did wrong at all? Quote. Edit. A word. I think this behavior from your wife is a sign that you guys need therapy. Even if your marriage is perfect. You're entering a different stage of your lives and have likely been together for a while. As her peers' marriages fall apart, she may be feeling insecure or questioning the strength of yours. All things to discuss in therapy. And no, you should not fire your assistant. That would be unethical. NTA. NTA. Instead of trusting you, your wife is listening to a bunch of people who have no evidence to support the shit they're saying. I'd say couples counseling is in order. Firing a young woman who is perfectly nice and good at her job because of someone else's insecurities would be an move. And wrongful termination. The fact that you now spend more time with your wife because your assistant is able to take over some of the workload should indicate to her that she shouldn't be worried. NTA. The problem at the root of this is your wife's insecurity. If she were 100% secure, she could have laughed off her friend's comments as absurd and shared the laugh with you. I am shocked, actually, that she would think so little of you that you are the kind of person to hit on someone you have hired at your workplace and be a 22-year-old. Separately, does she think normal 22-year-olds typically are attracted to 52-year-old men? They aren't. She and her friends are awful to suggest that a young woman who earned her position and is doing well should be fired for zero reason. That would be a supremely shitty thing to do. I am very disappointed in your wife. Something is deficient on her end if she needs you to fire a young employee to prove to her friends that you are not having an affair. Why is her friend's weird take on this lab photograph more valid in her mind than your factual and reasonable explanation that nothing is happening? These are just your coworkers? NTA. She wants you to fire another professional seemingly for no reason other than that she feels threatened by you working closely with a woman who is young and attractive. There is so much wrong with this. She would have you deny this young professional an entry point into her career based on these insecurities. I mean, aside from the legalities at work, this is just terrible. I responded that I think the real problem is that she's friends with a bunch of crazy divorcees. That statement might be a bit over the top. Some of these people might have some past trauma that influences their advice. But your wife's demands here are way out of proportion to your own transgressions. You said something not nice. She wants you to harm another person's career over her own insecurities. NTA. This toxic attitude has seriously derailed women's careers. It's so sad another woman is perpetuating it. Men and women are allowed to be friends. Anyone who says otherwise is either a potential cheater or paranoid. NTA. Honestly, if you had jumped to firing the new hire, your wife's friends would have said that was proof you were having an affair with her. Otherwise you wouldn't have felt guilty enough to fire someone for no reason. Your wife is likely either insecure about something herself, or she's just the type of personality that is easily swayed by peer pressure. In either case, I'd suggest a couples counselor for at least a few sessions and possibly have her transition into private therapy to help her grow a backbone against her friends. I'd also suggest you let your wife meet the new hire. Have everyone from your lab come over for a barbecue on the weekend. Or just bring your wife to the next bi-monthly lab lunch and encourage others to bring their partners. It's harder to label someone a mistress if she's met them and seen how you interact together. Don't accept the premise of this absurd question. Not even to say no to it. It's nonsense. Treat it as such. I have a sense that you are projecting your "things make sense" attitude onto this. NTA. My mom divorced my dad over a similar issue when they were a similar age to you. He wasn't the boss of the woman in question though, just a coworker. And 24 years old. Ultimately my mom convinced herself that my dad was cheating and she blew up their marriage of 26 years because my dad refused to leave the job until he had another job lined up. He literally agreed to leave because of my mom's issues. He just needed another source of income. First, there was never any evidence of anything inappropriate. The girl had a boyfriend her own age the whole time as well. I hope your wife comes to her senses. My mom never did. Tread carefully. NTA. Talk to your wife. Her friends are being toxic but it seems she's listening to them. NTA. As a 24F admin, my question to your wife would be why she thinks the world operates like an episode of Mad Men. Fire my new hire to test my integrity. Demonstrating integrity would be not firing her. Your wife is hanging around with a bunch of mad hens if they're really making her believe this nonsense. And this is fairly common insane behavior. When I was in my early 20s and was a bartender, my boss, the owner, was 50-something with grown kids. I came to view him as a father figure as my family was far away. Somehow, his wife thought I was sleeping with him and he let me go. Come to find out, several of my regulars' wives thought I was sleeping with their gnarly, toothless old husbands, too. They all knew that I was living with and in a long-term relationship with my now husband, and many had even met him. I never acted or dressed inappropriately around any of these guys or their wives when they came to the bar. I guess my former boss realized what a mistake he made because he came to my new job a couple days later and asked if I'd come back. I had actually made the front page of the newspaper on New Year's Day while I was working. So when he let me go, I went straight to a nice restaurant down the road and was immediately hired as their bartender, as I was kind of known in the area industry. I politely declined former boss's offer, but internally thought, is he fucking kidding? I lost all respect for him when he let me go, and it really hurt because I really did see him like a dad figure, and to get tossed out for his insane wife's insecurity after being a good employee for 6 years was like getting thrown in the garbage. TLDR. Do not fire your admin to appease your insecure wife. It's just so wrong to punish someone to make your wife feel better. And ladies, if you can't trust your husband to keep it in his pants while he's out of your presence, you have bigger issues to deal with. NTA.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.